Då ska vi se. Nu är jag i bild i alla fall. Hjärtligt välkomna säger jag på en gång till kvällens livesändning. Och jag har ju den fantastiskt stora äran att ha med mig en vinmakare med på länk idag, vilket är ju jätteroligt, eller en producent. Jag har Alberto Zenato med mig och jag tänker att det är väl ingenting att vänta på, det är väl bara att introducera honom på en gång. Men jag tänker att ni som tittar, gör gärna som vanligt att skriv hur många ni är som tittar. Är det en ny tittare så kommentera gärna det. Och jag hälsar er väldigt välkomna till den här kvällens provning när det är fullt fokus på Italien. Det här ska bli jätteroligt och jag tycker vi tar in Alberto på en gång. Alberto, hello!
Hello, how are you?
Hello, welcome to Sweden.
Welcome to Italy, to Lake Garda.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be able to talk to you like this, and even if the corona situation is really strange, it's a very fun way to be tasting wine together.
Yes, of course, we cannot be in presence at your country, of course, because of the restriction of the COVID, but in these times, because of this pandemic, we have tried to develop new digital tasting, a new way of presentation of the wines, and we have seen that it works. And it's very convenient. We can save a lot of time, a lot of exposure for traveling and living out of our country.
Yes, and that's a very good point. We save a lot of time on traveling in these ways when we actually can taste together. And I think also an opportunity for customers to be able to ask you questions, which is sometimes a bit difficult. But please, Alberto, can you tell me, when was the Zenato winery created? Tell me about your history.
So, Zenato was founded in 1960 by my father Sergio. So nowadays I represent the second generation. My father was a self-made man, and he inherited the passion for wine from his father, Silvio, a great farmer of the area. My father passed to the two children, me and my sister Nadia, the passion for winemaking. Nowadays, I'm responsible for the winemaking, and also I'm the brand ambassador and marketing manager for the market of Europe and Canada. My sister Nadia, she's also responsible for sales and marketing, but in the United States, in the Far East, and in Italy. Last but not least, my mother, Carla, she is involved in the hospitality and organization of tour and tasting at our winery. She also has her own estate called La Sansonina, that is located here in the southern shore of Lake Garda, where she produces two types of Lugana and two different red wines from international grape varieties, such as Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc.
Interesting, and we are going to taste a few of your wines today. We're going to taste some from Lugano and then Valpolicella as well, and this is really fun. I'm going to actually show everyone what wines we are tasting, and because I know we have two of them you can get a hold of in a lot of stores. Here we have our monopoly, as you know, here in Sweden, and some you have to order. So people that are watching, please comment if you have bought the wines, and go ahead and ask questions, and we can ask Alberto some questions during the tasting. And a little bit about your philosophy, Alberto. What is your philosophy when it comes to winemaking?
Well, Zenato philosophy is based on quality production, and this is a 360-degree view. In other words, we pay a lot of attention on every steps of the production, from the vines to the bottle. In particular, we are focused on traditional grapes varieties. Trebbiano di Lugana, for example, for Lugana production, Corvina, Corvinone Rodinella for the Amarone and Valpolicella production. But we also use the traditional method of production that is appassionato for producing Amarone, is aging for a long time our Amarone in barrels, in large casks. And we have also our innovator. We have been one of the first, my father, who used these tasty tanks for the production of white wines before other producers were using this method of controlling the temperatures of fermentation for keeping the aromas and to preserve the quality of the wines. I was also an innovator. I'm an innovator nowadays because I pay attention in the fruit rooms where we dry the Corvina for the production of Amarone with the dehumidification system in order to protect during the 3-4 months of drying the grapes in the fruit room. We protect the grapes from rot or mold in the changing of the weather condition from harvest to the moment of pressing the grapes, that is the autumn months, that can be sometimes very rainy or humid, and this humidity can damage our grapes. I'm also very sustainable. I have reduced the use of pesticides. I have reduced the use of herbicides, and nowadays I'm using the sexual confusion for maintaining a good biodiversity in our vineyards.
For someone who doesn't know what that is, can you explain a little what that sexual confusion is?
Yes, it's a bit difficult, but I try to explain. Instead of fighting the presence of insects into the vineyards that can damage our grapes, and this in the past we have done with the use of the pesticides. Nowadays we use this pheromone that we put all around, but also into the vineyard. In every row of the vineyard, there's a pheromone. This pheromone gets a sort of confusion in the male of the insect that has to meet the female for the reproduction and for the growing of the species. So this pheromone can reduce the reproduction of the insect, and in this way we take under control the invasion of insects into the vineyards.
Interesting. Should we maybe show a map? Actually, I can show a map here, and then you can explain where we are, where you have your vineyards.
Yes, Zenato is located in the northeast of Italy, in the region Veneto, where it's located our capital, Venice, on the eastern side near the Adriatic Sea. And Zenato is on the other side, in the western part of Veneto, in the province of Verona. San Benedetto di Lugana is the area where we have our 70 hectares on the south end of the Lake Garda shores, and where we produce the white wines, the Rosé wines, and Lugana. In Valpolicella, not far from San Benedetto di Lugana, in the classic area of Sant'Ambrogio, we produce the typical grape varieties for the production of Valpolicella and Amarone wines. So in between the two areas, there's only 20 kilometers. And in Valpolicella, in the Costa Lunga estate, we own 30 hectares, all in one place. Instead, in Lugana, the 70 hectares are in different villages, but not far each other from our headquarters, where we make the identification of the grapes.
I think maybe if people are watching, we have a few people with us actually watching and hopefully tasting some wines as well. I think people are a little bit thirsty, so do you think maybe we should start with tasting the Rosé, which is a very light style? I think the Lugana, the white, has a bit of age, so it would be fun to try the Rosé first. And I'm just gonna take some information about the wine here, and please tell me about this beautiful rosé. It's such a lovely color.
Yes, I have the pleasure to introduce in your market this Rosato Tre Venezie IGT. So it's a wine that is produced in the southeastern shore of Lake Garda, so close to where we are located with the winery. It's a blend of three grapes, Rondinella, very typical, very Veronese, you can find in Valpolicella, but also in Barbolino. And also we have added two international grape varieties, very interesting for the production of a rosé, such as the Pinot Nero and the Cabernet Franc. The soil in this area is morenic, with a presence of clay and silt. The harvest is done by hand. For the Pinot Nero, that is very early, it happens between the end of August and the beginning of September. Instead, for Rondinella and Cabernet Franc, we go to pick the grapes around the end of September, the beginning of October. For Rosé, we make a sort of white vinification. So there is a short contact of the skin with the juice. It happens all in the press machine for 2 hours in order to extract very light color for a rosé wine. Then the fermentation takes place in stainless steel tanks at the low temperature of 16 to 17 to 18 degrees Celsius to protect the integrity of the grapes. The color of the wine is nice coral pink with violet reflections. On the nose, we have typical red fruit notes such as raspberry, wild strawberry, and currants.
People are like here in Sweden. It's so important to talk about what you eat with your wine. What do you eat back home if you drink this wine?
But here we like to use Rosato as aperitif, to drink before to start dinner, to drink outside on the terrace in the beautiful sunny evening of the summer, a little bit chilled in order to serve like a white wines. We like also with the first courses of Italian pasta. We like also with the fish from our Lake Garda, and also with the light white meat dishes. So very versatile, very enjoyable, and with a nice, fresh, mineral, balanced taste.
It's a lovely wine, and we just got heat here now in Sweden. It's been very, very cold, but we just got a hot, very hot, like it's 20 degrees outside, and right now I just want to drink something like this. It's a perfect wine to start with.
From a climatic point of view, 2020 vintage was with many fluctuation in temperature, and the growing season started about 10 days earlier than usual. So during the budding phase up to the flowering, the temperature were above average. But in the final ripening phase, the temperature were lower. As a result, the vintage aligned itself with the average of the past vintages.
Beautiful. So you think, like, for you, a 2020 rosé, this is something that we should drink now, right? Not keep in our cellar.
No, rosé wine is a young, fresh wine to enjoy in a year. So it's right now the right moment to start drinking rosé wine until the end of the summer, and it's the perfect moment right now.
Yes, it's in a perfect shape. Do you want to go over to the Lugana? Let's see.
Yes,
I have
to pour the Lugana.
Let's see. I think I have.
So let me say something about the terroir and the climate of Lugana area.
Yes.
So Lugana area is a soil basically rich of minerals because the area is a deposit of a glacial period. So it's rich of clay, lime, and sand, and the color of the soil is typically gray. One of the characteristics of the soil in Lugana is to be very impermeable. That it means that in summer times, in summer, it can be very hot and dry, and so the soil can be very compact, like cement. But on the other way, in spring, for example, it can be rainy and humid, like it is in this period here in Italy. We can have difficult to enter in the vineyards with machinery because it's very muddy and slippery. But on the other side, the climate is moderate. It's because the presence of the lake is a sort of thermal basin, and we consider this area the most northern Mediterranean area in South Europe, because here you can plant not only vineyards, but also we have olive trees with good production of olive oil. We have also some lemon trees, and this is because the climate can be very, very hot. In summer, it can reach 30, 35 degrees Celsius, and in the winter, it can go down to zero, below zero, but it's not really cold compared to other Nordic countries. Lugana. Lugana is the Nato flagship. We are born in this area. We have been one of the promoter and innovator to improve the production of this white wine in this little area in the south end of Lake Garda. It's produced 100% from Trebbiano grapes, locally named as Turbiana, and it's produced exclusively from our own estate, Santa Cristina, where the exposure and the nature of the terrain gives the best quality to this flagship Lugana. So the soil is chalky and clay. The vines have more than 30 years, and the production of this Trebbiano is quite low in general, comparing the Trebbiano production in general. So we harvest by hand around the end of September to the beginning of October. After the gentle pressing, the fermentation takes place in stainless steel tanks. After 3-4 months of aging in the same tanks, we bottle the wine, and a couple of months later, the wine is on the market. Here we have an example of aged Lugana. Lugana usually is fresh, to drink young, to enjoy in 1-2 years, usually. But with the quality that we bring you, we can say that Lugana can have a good longevity, has a good aging potential. This is an example of Lugana with great age potential.
It's a beautiful
Color,
wine. Yes.
color start to be a bit more darker than straw yellow, but is because of the aging bottle. The nose is typical of an aged white wine, so with fruity, intense flower notes and some on the palate is still very minerals with softness, good balance, long-lasting persistency in the mouth.
Really nice acidity.
Nice acidity because we don't make any malolactic fermentation in our white and rosé wines. So here we have an example of a wine that we can enjoy after 3-4 years from the harvest. So you can imagine the potential of our Lugana Riserva, because this is the traditional Lugana, but we produce also Lugana Riserva called Sergio Zenato, that is partially fermented in oak and aged in bottle for minimum 12 months before being released. And this wine can age for 10-15 years with no problems.
I have a question here from Robert. I see you have screw caps on the rosé, but corks on the other wines. What is the reason of the choice of using screw cap on the rosé and cork on the other bottles?
Well, to be honest, this is a choice of market. In general, in Italy, people are not very friendly with the use of screw cap. People are very traditional. They want to open the bottle with the screw cap, with the corkscrew.
Yeah.
And for the Italian, this is the way. Yeah. But abroad, and in particular in the Nordic countries like you, it's simple and very easy going the opening of or keeping the bottle with this type of closure. That is very comfortable also for me, because you don't risk any damage to the wine for the cork, the taste of cork. And also when you open the bottle and you don't finish the bottle, you can reclose, put in the fridge, take out. It's very easy, very convenient.
Yes.
So because this Lugana we sell mostly in Italy, we have decided to use the natural cork.
Yes.
Rosato, that is mainly sold abroad, we have decided for an innovative type of closure.
Good answer. And I think
Lugana is an excellent wine to enjoy as aperitif. It has many gastronomic combination, white meats, freshwater fish, like we have here on the Lake Garda. But it's very versatile. You can enjoy now as a wine to accompany asparagus and eggs. It's very nice in this moment of the year.
What type of fish do you have in Lake Garda?
We have a lot of different fishes. We have the trouts, the perch, we have the sardines, we have lucho, the lucho, the small English word, but we have many beautiful fishes. In the past, we used also to eat the anguilla, the tail, that is very, very beautiful on grilled.
Yes.
But nowadays it's not anymore possible to fish and eat anguilla.
What is regarding this wine? It's a beautiful, beautiful wine. And if anyone at home actually tastes it, please comment what you think about it and what you taste. What is the oldest vintage that you have tried of this? Do you still have like keep older vintages?
I have tried some months ago, not recently, in 2006, Lugana Santa Cristina.
Wow.
And it was still in a good shape, perfect condition to taste, of course, with a stronger evolution from the fresh fruit citrus notes to more deep and tertiary aromas present in the glass.
But then I can recommend for people at home that this is definitely a wine that it's such a good price for something that you can keep in your cellar for a long time, and such an aging potential. Beautiful. Should we? Do you want to taste the Merlot? What do you say? Oh, you already poured the Merlot.
I have already poured the Merlot Garden DOC 2016, same vintage of Amarone Classico, so I can say the note about the vintage. It was an unusual warm autumn, followed by a rainy winter, with the days characterized by some temperature below zero, but fortunately only in the month of February. So the bulbing period began in mid-April. So spring was marked by abundant rains, and temperatures were always below the seasonal average. So considered a fresh, cold vintage, so good for long aging red wines. Merlot is a wine produced from 100% Merlot grapes that we produce in the area surrounding the southern shore of Lake Garda. We harvest by hand the grapes after the in the second half of September. The vinification is traditional, so it's a fermentation for 10-12 days in the fermenter with contact and extraction of color, tannins, and polyphenol from the skin of the grapes. And after the alcoholic fermentation, the wine has to do the malolactic fermentation before we start the period of aging in French oak barrels for about 18 months. The color of this wine is bright ruby red. Elegant nose with the pleasant hints of red fruit. Well-rounded, medium full-bodied wines, mineral taste, and soft tannins. Either for matching game, grill, or roasted meat.
Definitely. Would it be lovely for our barbecue, that summer barbecues that's coming up now in this summertime. It's beautiful wine.
Yes. This wine will be available with the new vintage, the 2018, that we are going to release after summer, and will be available in the Swedish monopoly stores from September. Don't forget.
We will not forget. Definitely not. September it will be in stores. Now we have it's in the order assortment. So you will have it on the shelf. That's really fun. It's a beautiful wine, and here as well. I'm gonna take the price again. So it's 149 Swedish kroners. You have all the prices for every market in your head, right? I think one question from Sten here before we go into the Valpolicella. What would you say is the major difference in taste when you compare a Lugana wine with a Soave wine? You think?
Let's say that Soave it's produced from Garganega mainly, and sometimes you can blend the Garganega with some Trebbiano di Soave, that is the same clone of a Trebbiano di Lugana, planted in a different soil and microclimate. And sometimes in Soave you can blend some Chardonnay sometimes or some Incrocio Manzoni. Lugana is mainly 90% minimum Trebbiano di Lugana. So Lugana has a strong minerality, strong presence of these salty notes, and this capacity for long aging. And minerality is one of the main aspects of the Lugana, these strong aromatic flavors. In Soave, the wine comes from volcanic soil, so it's more calcareous, similar to the Valpolicella soil. And the wine has also a good aging potential, but I would say has less minerality and less aromatic flavor than in Lugana white wines, in my opinion. But depends also from producer to producer. Yes. Not all Soave can taste the same ones.
Perfect. I think that was a really, really nice answer. Thank you very much. I hope Sten is happy with that. And another one from Ingela. How is the new vintage compared to of the Merlot? How is the new vintage of the Merlot compared to the one that we are tasting right now?
So this question can introduce the 2018 vintage, that is also the vintage of the next wine, Valpolicella Classico Superiore. So was quite a particular difficult year, the 2018, because it has required a lot of selection and work in the vineyards to select, to protect the grapes from the infection, because it was quite rainy, cold, and there was a lot of bunches on every plant. So luckily, we have done the selection of the best ones for a good production. And also thanks to the hillside, the location of our vineyards in Costa Lunga estate, this has helped to drain the excess water much faster, and the grapes have ripened perfectly at the end of the month of September. So I would say that it was not an easy vintage, quite similar to the 2016, but with a larger amount of grapes per plant that we have selected carefully, bunch per bunch, in order to pick only the best for the quality production.
Okay, should we fly over to, or run to, or take the bike to Valpolicella and the area? And I'm gonna see here what picture I have here. We have some story.
We fly a bit northeast from Peschiera del Garda, and we reach the Valpolicella Classica, in particular our village, Sant'Ambrogio, that has a totally different soil from Lugana. Here the soil, as you can see from the picture, has a red color, terra rossa, and is much rockier. In fact, we call terra rossa this soil. and is very calcareous. Another difference from Lugana is the altitude. In Lugana, we are at around 100 meters above sea level, even less sometimes. But in Valpolicella, it's all in hillside, our vineyards. And the altitude is between 300 to 350 meters above sea level. And this is important because this terroir helps to drain faster after the rain. So sometimes in the summer season, we need to irrigate with our drip system the vines. There is also the influence of the Lake of Garda because it's not so far from the lake. So the climate is moderate, is protected from the north by the mountain Lessini that permit to keep the grapes at a low level of humidity. And this is very important for grapes like Corvina, Corvinone, Rondinella that has to dry 3 to 4 months before being crushed for producing the wine Amarone. So this climate that has some degrees lower than in Lugana, it helps to keep the grapes at a good level of healthy. Very important. And then there is the appassimento that is very unique, very special for the area of Valpolicella. It's a method that is very important because here is where we produce Amarone, but before Amarone there is the Recioto. The origin of Amarone is from Recioto, the sweet wine to drink with dessert dishes. The appassimento consists in a process where the grapes are put in small crates to dry from 3 to 4 months in order to reduce the presence of moisture in the grapes and increases, of course, the level of sugar with the reduction of weight. So when we start fermenting the wine, the capacity of the wine to reach a higher level of alcohol is natural. So let's go back to Valpolicella before to introduce the Amarone. And Valpolicella is a wine that is produced from the typical grapes of Valpolicella, Corvina mainly, Corvinone, Rondinella, and a few others grapes. It's a soil that is rich of rock fragments and is very calcareous.
I have a few people that are watching that they have this as their house wine and they love it. So cheers for that.
Oh, thanks for choosing Valpolicella as your house wine, and cheers for this reason. Thank you. So this is a wine that we make with a traditional method. The grapes are picked by hand between the end of September and the beginning of October. Are put to macerate on the skin for 10-12 days, and after the alcoholic fermentation, the grapes are gently pressed, and the wine is put to age in our French oak cask for 12 months before being bottled and a few months later released. The color of the wine is beautiful ruby red. On the nose, we have the typical wild cherry notes, such as marasca and fruits of the wood.
Stefan that is watching, he says here that this is a very good candidate for our summer barbecue. And I think I agree.
Yes, I agree with your description. It's dry, velvety, and has a good structure and has a good minerality. So perfect match with barbecue and grill and roast meat. But we can have also with different pasta sauces or also with some cold cuts and salami and this kind of salumi. So before we taste the king of Veronese wines, that is our Amarone Classico, I would like to spend a few words about Ripasso Technique, and in particular Ripasso Zenato. That is one of our main flagship of the red wine production. So Ripasso is a typical method of the province of Verona. My father, Sergio, rediscovered this method in the 1992, coming back from a trip to the United States. He decided that the gap from Valpolicella to Amarone, it was too big. So he wanted to rediscover the ancient method of Ripasso for covering this gap with a wine that it was still a Valpolicella, but with some reminiscence of Amarone, because Ripasso is a repass of Valpolicella, our best Valpolicella, on the Amarone pomace leaves during the month when we start crushing the dried grapes. So after having made the Amarone, we keep in the vat, in the fermenter, the pomace of Amarone, and we fill the vat with some Valpolicella. This process that lasts a week and a half, enrich our original Valpolicella of color, structure, and flavors coming from the dried grapes. So this is a wine that is in between. It's not an Amarone because it's not so powerful, but it's not even a Valpolicella. It's something more than a Valpolicella. So a very interesting wine to match with any kind of meat, roasted, grilled, game. So very, very, very versatile. So I would like to remember this wine because this is a wine that is available in the ordinary assortment in your Monopoly stores. And before to start tasting Amarone, let me say a few words about Ripasso. But not Ripasso. Ripasso is the method. Ripassa is the name we have given, is a brand name registered by Zenato from the beginning, from 1992. Nowadays, only Zenato can use Ripassa on the label, even if you see many Ripassos on the market, because we have done the Renaissance, we have rediscovered this method, and nowadays there is a lot of producers that are making Ripasso, and it's available on the market with the large production. So let's go in Amarone tasting. Let's try the king, our most important wine of the Valpolicella area.
This is your flagship.
Yes. This is the flagship because it represents the maximum expression of the Valpolicella area. It's unique for the method of production because of the appassimento, and it's considered one of the best red wine of the Veneto region of the province of Verona, Amarone in general. It's produced always with the typical grapes, Corvina mainly, Corvinone, but also Oseleta. We have rediscovered this old grape variety that was not used in the recent year because wasn't used in the past years. Because in the 60s and 70s, a producer wanted to make a large production of wine, not quality wines. Nowadays, it's quality our main focus, and Oseleta produce less grapes than other grape varieties, but gives color, structure, tannins, and helps to the Amarone to have a long-lasting life. The grapes are picked strictly by hand. There is a selection of bunch per bunch because we don't pick all the grapes on the plant. We only select the best with not compact bunch. The bunch has to be little bit spargly, so there is to be space between the berries. Because after we put carefully the bunch of grapes on crates, and then bring these crates into the fruit loft that we control humidity and temperature in order to protect the grapes from mold or fungus spread out in the grapes. This reduce of about 50% the original weight of the grapes. So for making a bottle of Amarone, we need double amount of grapes respect compared to a bottle of Valpolicella. So fermentation takes place in January, very slowly because the grapes has accumulated a high amount of sugar. So fermentation can last until 3 weeks to complete totally the sugar present in the juice. And when it's finished, the wine needs a long period of aging. Our Amarone is put in a French or Slavonian cask to age for minimum 36 months per regular Amarone. For the Riserva, this period can last until 48 months. And after the bottle, the wine has to do 6 months of bottling age before being released. So this beautiful wine has a ruby red color that can become garnet red with the aging after 10-15 years. We are speaking of long aging for Amarone. Very spicy notes with the typical hints of cherry, wild cherry like marasca, dried fruit, prunes.
This is such a beautiful wine, and I don't know if you know, but Amarone has been, I would say, it's such a popular wine in Sweden. And I like if you go in to the Monopoly and you're gonna buy a wine, and you know if you're gonna give someone a gift or something, then you always buy a bottle of Amarone. So that, and this is I would say one of the probably the top one at the Monopoly, and it's such a beautiful wine. How like we talk about aging potential here. How long can you keep a bottle of Amarone, would you say?
Depends on the vintages, of course, but normally our Amarone can last for minimum 15 to maximum 30 years.
Yeah.
At least. And it's a wine that we recommend with game, roasted or grilled meat, mature cheeses, but of course we enjoy this wine also without food. It's sometimes considered a meditation wine, so a wine to drink after dinner,
Yes.
to enjoy by itself with a nice movie to see, or a nice book to read, a nice chat with some friends. So it's a wine to sip little by little, so
Yeah.
not really a wine to drink too fast.
I just must say, I really like that you have written on the label what you recommend people to eat. I really, it's such a good thing. Recommended with roasted meat, game, and mature cheese. It's such, you know, people always wonder what should I eat for the wine, and You have
Yes,
already written it down.
it's something we do for all most of our wines
Yep.
to suggest the wine pairing. I would like in the future maybe to put also a QR code on the back label so
Yep.
that everybody, especially nowadays with the smartphone, you can read also more information about the winery, about the philosophy and everything we do. So probably the next step will be to add QR code on the back label. Exactly. So
Another,
this
another,
is
just another question. I have Stefan here. He wonders, and I think that's maybe something we can mention for all of the wines. What temperature do you recommend people to drink your wine in?
well, if we are speaking of white and rosé wine, I would suggest between 10 and 12 degrees Celsius, so quite cold. If we speak of the red wines, we have to serve the wine at a room temperature, but it doesn't mean 22 degrees. It means the room temperature of the cellar, so between 16 and 18 degrees Celsius.
Yes,
Because room temperature sometimes the winter it can be too high for serving an
it's much
Amarone
higher
or
today.
exactly.
Room temperature back in the days was 18 degrees, and now it's like 20, 25 or something. When people has
So
very warm
it's too
homes.
much. It's too much. So let's say cellar temperature that is between 16 and 18, or even less if you want to keep the wine in the best conditions.
And I think something that could be nice to mention, because Amarone in general has quite high alcohol, and of, I know the reason why, but can you explain a little bit why do we get an alcohol of 16.5% in a bottle of Amarone?
First of all, we pick the grapes from vineyards, selected vineyards, where the production is kept at a low level of quantity. So we try to produce low yield per hectare. So when we pick our grapes, we have already reached a good level of sugar content in each of the grapes. But obviously, after there's a period of drying. In this period that lasts from 3 to 4 months, the grapes dehydrated and lose the moisture present in the berries. So the sugar content increase even more. So naturally, this wine, in particular the Zenato Amarone, can reach 16.5, 17% of alcohol very easily.
Is this anything like the alcohol? Is the level of the alcohol something that you think about, or is it because I can see in general, especially here in the Nordic countries, back in the days, people wanted as much alcohol they could get for the money, you know. But now people are starting to get healthier, and they are looking for wines with a little bit of lower alcohol. Uh, but then also we have, you know, the climate, it gets warmer and warmer, so sometimes, you know, the alcohol rises. Is this, do you think about the alcohol anything, or you just, you know, it gets the alcohol level gets where it gets depending on the grapes?
No, we are facing in the last years, in particular from the last period of years, an increase of temperature. The global warming is happening everywhere, and in the southern country, like we are in Italy, it can be difficult sometimes to keep under control, in particular for Amarone wine, the level of alcohol because we are producing less grapes per plant in order to make wines with more structure, more extract. But at the same time, we have to be careful because after there is also the appassimento that can bring up the level of sugar and of course while also we have try to find a compromise making a wine as it is Amarone, always with the characteristic of the Amarone, that is always a fascinating wine, but also going into this new direction of the consumer that are preferring lighter wines, not too alcohol, not too much alcohol. So we are trying to anticipate to make our harvest a few days earlier, and probably also to try to make the appassimento a bit shorter than usual, because we don't want to exceed too much the alcohol level of the wines. So we are facing these problems in these years of course, and we are trying to develop some variation in order to make a wine that can be suitable and can fit the taste, the new trend of consumption that is coming up with this new young consumer that are very fond of the health and fond of sustainability. And this is what we are thinking to promote and to make as much as possible also in our wine method of production.
So you can see how, also you as a producers can see how important that is. Are you a member of the Amarone family is a question here.
Yes, exactly. Good question. I'm the actual president of the Amarone Families Group.
Wow.
It's a group of 13 producers from Valpolicella. It's a group that came together in 2009 to promote and to stay together for enhancing the beauty and the great quality of this wine of our territory. So we wanted to promote and protect this wine from the mass production, from the reduction of quality and the reduction of prices. So we wanted to keep Amarone, our iconic red wine of Verona, of Veneto region. So nowadays we don't travel, so we haven't organized some tasting abroad. Usually we do once a year, twice a year, some tasting master classes with the group of Amarone families.
Okay.
So nowadays we are doing mostly from home some digital tasting, but very soon we will organize something around Europe and other markets.
Fun. That would be very interesting to hear about when it arranges something again. And
But by the way, the Amarone family group has bought in 2010 the restaurant in the historic center of Verona called La Bottega dei Vini. This is an historic and very important restaurant, not only for food, but also for the big selection of wines from all over the world. Nowadays, we have give a strong influence into the consumption of our wines, but at the same time, because it's considered the Mecca of wines in Verona, we continue to keep high selection of wines from all over Italy and from all over the world for keeping high the name of this important restaurant.
wow, that's a really nice thing. We have been talking for a while now. Can people? Well, right now we can't really travel. I'm not sure how the restrictions are still going on in Italy, but when this pandemic is over and or not, we'll see if it's ever over. Crossing our fingers. But can people visit your winery?
Yes, of course, all people are very welcome to visit and to tour around our vineyards and winery. So we are organized for tasting, for tours, and at the same time, I and my wife have also a little boutique hotel, bed and breakfast called La Zarabba, not far from the state Zenato, where you can stay, you can enjoy the beautiful land of the Garda Lake region. But don't forget that Veneto is a beautiful region, that you can enjoy the mountains in the north with the Alps, the Dolomites for skiing or hiking in the summer. You can go to the Adriatic Sea, the beautiful beaches in Caule, the Bione, and you can come where we are, to the Lake Garden in our area, where also is beautiful for the summer season, if you like the lake, or also all year long is beautiful for visiting our vineyards, visiting our beautiful town of Verona with the arena, with the Roman amphitheater, and other beautiful monuments that are present in our town.
When would you say is the best time of the year to come and visit your region?
Well, I suggest spring between May and June, or that is not too warm, not too hot. Or I would suggest after the summer, so between September and October, when also we are doing our harvest. So it's a beautiful moment, but also it's not too hot, and you can enjoy not only the beaches, but you can enjoy your tourism with the nice tastings, nice food pairings, and enjoying the monuments of our Italian country.
Do you need anyone that picks grapes for harvest? I'm a really good picker.
We need always a good hand for picking. So if you want to come, let me know. I will hire you.
Perfect, perfect. When I looked at your website, I saw something that was called Zenato Academy. What is? Can you explain what that is?
Zenato Academy is a project started 3 years ago. This project is based on art. So Zenato has already published 2 books of art, including some photographer student from the Academy of Brera in Milan, when we did the book of photography about the object of wines. And last year we did the book on the landscape of wine growing areas with the School of Photography in Berlin. So next one will be done with a student from USA, and the last one probably will be done with students from Asia area. So I can show you the books.
Oh wow!
This one is wine beyond the objects, and is the one we have done in association with the Academy of Beautiful Arts of Milan. The second one we did last year is called Wine Beyond the Landscape, and it was done in conjunction, in collaboration with the Schule für Fotografie from Berlin. So I will be happy to send you as a present these 2 books,
Wow!
because you have asked me these important questions.
Wow! That was wow! So that's beautiful. Thank you very much.
We have presented only the first book in Verona, in the beautiful building of Gran Guardia during the Italy fair. And then we have put the photography in our estate for a long time, and also at the Salone del Mobile in Milano during the Salone del Mobile. Last year, because of the COVID, we haven't done any presentation because of the COVID, but these pictures will be hosted at our estate for the whole summer and next fall. So if people come to visit us, they can see the pictures.
I can already see here in the comments people that are commenting, and they are planning their travels for September, so they can come and visit you.
Great, well done. We wait you, and we welcome you with pleasure.
Perfect. Do you have any last words you want to say about your wines? Any recommendations on food or something? Any last words? Because I've taken up a lot of your time.
My last words are for you that have moderate this beautiful wine tasting, are for my new importers, Provinum, who has invite me to do this wine tasting, and of course all the people that are connected with us for the wine tasting. And last but not least, I would like to say in Italian, salute, to toast with all of you. Salute.
Salute, skål, as we say in Swedish.
Skål.
Skål.
Skål
Salute.
in Swedish. Skål in Swedish. Salute.
Thank you so much, Alberto, for taking your time, and I'm really looking forward to visit you in the future, or if you come to Sweden, and we can do a big tasting for people together. This was such a pleasure to have you here, and I think people that have been watching, they're really happy to have been able to ask some questions.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
You and to everybody. See you soon, maybe in presence here or in your country.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, and good evening.
Good evening. Ciao. See you soon.
Ciao.
Have a nice evening. Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao. Ciao. Ciao.
Vi har bara små problem och ingenting att klaga på.